We'll start the meeting. Okay, we're gonna remove the, second executive session, because not everyone can be here for that.
Really?
And then I'm just gonna shuffle an old business around, shuffle the order around. Does anybody have anything else to, amend the agenda?
On the old business, we're able to put the Syndicate Road first.
That's what I just said.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said new business. I missed it.
That all.
I saw it. I'm sorry.
Motion to approve as amended?
Second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anything on the select board minutes of November 13th or 20th? Mistakes, corrections? No? Okay. Town managers report?
Alright. Well, somewhere. Alright, we had another Tri-Town Trail Scoping Study Team meeting. Jeez, at Regional Planning on the 20th of November. We were able to finalize most of the trail segments between the three towns, and we were joined by some folks that were involved with Pine Hill Park, when their trail and expertise was welcomed. Once we have the draft plan, I'll be sharing it with the board, and I'm sure we'll be doing more public hearings on it, but it was really productive. It was great to have other folks involved.
Good. You said it was just the town managers?
Yeah, it was just us and Stantec, and then I can't remember the woman's name that was big behind Pine Hill Park, and
Okay.
they were great to work with.
Good.
Attended the RPC TAC meeting on the 20th. This was a joint meeting with Addison County Planning Commission. We do this once a year. V-Trans was present to discuss the Route 7 segments. Segment 4 is going out to bid in January. I did get that confirmed today, probably for fall construction start date. And segments 2 and 3 they're saying are still in right away, so we don't have a.
Can you just say what each of the segments are?
Segment 4 is the one that starts at the town line up by Otter Valley, north on 7, and goes to Kendall Hill. Mm-hmm. Segment 3 is Kendall Hill to Plains Road, and 2 is from Plains Road to the bridge.
Okay. Thank you.
We did pick up the new Ford F600 truck last week. And we'll be making arrangements maybe to go to Viking Sives. We'll see how the meeting goes. Plains Road Sewer Line project is moving along. They actually set the 5th manhole structure today, so that's pretty good. That's 5 out of 13. So I had 4 when I did this, and they did the other one today. So they are hoping to continue working. They're gonna have to cross the road just a little bit north of Toronto where the sewer goes in the other side. So we've just been talking with Chad to make sure that if we have any trench stuff that we're making it as smooth as possible for plowing, so we're not damaging plows on.
Yeah.
Markowski's gonna work as long as they can, weather permitting, so it's going really well, which is nice.
Good.
Bridge 108 construction update I have there for you folks, and I think everyone gets emails. Just a few other things. Liz has her rec report in here. I do have a letter from DEC for drinking water and groundwater that was their sanitary survey. Sean and I have been working on this. We have to put some hatches on our wells, which has to have an engineer plan, so we've been talking with Robert Clark about it.
Where's it?
It's not,
That was Picayune, that report.
Oh yeah, they wanted us to, we had to change like the screen over
screens, that's all they're.
So,
Yes.
It was on the overflows, right?
yeah,
So it was water coming out.
It was just
nothing got back in.
right, it was just, but they didn't like the size of the screen on it, so Sean and I went up one day and just
Dig
put no
hard,
screen on
yeah.
it. I mean, seriously, it's screen held with a band.
Yeah.
Another thing that's in here that actually I received from Lyle, which is pretty cool, is this Vermont Chamber of Commerce, which I didn't even know there was one, so this was kind of cool, but this was a pretty neat survey, so I hope you guys had a chance to look at it. Another thing is the league they're doing these advocacy chats. I know Alicia's attended some of these, right?
Well, until they change their web system, it's harder to get.
Yeah, I know.
Like I'll get emails that'll tell me that I'm signed up for it, and then I try to get on and I can't.
And I called them today because they had ones that said that the sign up was closed and the things aren't until January, so they were working on that. The police stats were in here for you guys for review.
Yep.
And I think that's all I have this evening.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Comments? All right, any select board member remarks?
Is there a chance to get an update on the delinquent tax collections?
Jeez, I have that sitting on my
Yes.
computer.
It's down to about 236,000 is still remaining
Okay.
to be paid. It dropped significantly in between the due date of the 18th and the 2nd, and then the 6% penalty just went on the 2nd.
236 roughly is
Approximately,
outstanding?
yes.
Okay.
That's a pretty good number for right now.
Yeah.
Yep, that's good.
And of that, I do have a bunch of them that have made repayment agreements already, so.
Okay,
Good.
good.
Speaking of the taxes, they're doing a tax sale seminar, the league is on, December 11th. I know Ann's attending, I have another meeting, I'm hoping I can attend it as well, but because there's a lot of new tax sale law.
Okay.
So, Gary and I have already talked about it, and, we don't have that much to change with the way we're doing it, it's just that we have to work with folks more with setting up a payment plan first, like we've been doing anyway, so it's not really affecting us that much. There wasn't really anything that was outstanding, but we have new rules to follow, so.
Okay. All right, anybody have anything else? No, any public comment? Okay. All right, old business, Syndicate Road, Carver Street.
I will leave.
Okay.
Well,
I don't know if you really have to, but you may, I mean,
or I can just sit here.
yeah, I don't, yeah, you don't need to leave.
Mouth shut, I
Right.
That's gonna be hard.
Yeah?
That's why he's closing the door.
So I put this on here because it has been discussed and it's been in
Yep.
the paper, and I've
Yeah,
talked with a few
I've
Brandon residents who are here tonight.
Yep.
We've been waiting for someone from the Brandon Select Board to notify us. I thought they were going to be at this meeting, but we
No one's
haven't heard from
contacted me.
anybody. So I know we discussed it very briefly at one of our meetings, and I just wanted to keep that discussion going, that, you know, the process for that is that because the road joins two towns, that both towns have to do the hearing process.
Yep.
And both have to agree.
Right.
So, that's really the gist of it, but I guess it's a little premature still because we don't,
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
we have some Brandon folks here that
Yeah,
I
which-
think have
yeah.
some concerns.
You're all welcome to, if you'd like to voice your opinions, please do.
That's really all I have. One of my biggest concerns is when we had that tractor trailer go over the bridge and get stuck.
Yep.
When I was north of here, we had to plow the road and actually had the tow truck backed all the way down
Yeah.
Carver Street to get it, because we wouldn't want a tow truck and a tractor trailer going over the bridge again. So, biggest concern for me is if that road is gated and it starts to be overgrown, what do we do when that happens again? Because it's not if it's gonna, you know, it's gonna happen again at some point.
Right.
So that's my biggest concern, and speaking with Chief Hempel, he was concerned about it too, because it has been used as a detour through the years if there's been accidents on Route 7, which happen more often than should. So that would be another issue, that detour road wouldn't be available.
Okay. All right. Would anyone like to speak?
You'll take Brandon people?
Yeah, of course.
My name's Joseph Bertrand. I lived in Brandon my whole life. I've driven down that road 40 years. And the road itself, if you look at the steel bridge on the Pittsford end, is still in really good shape because there's no salt. And we're lucky. You folks all remember the CCC camps back in the 40s and such, and during the Depression, the government created jobs and helped people. They made all these roads up in the mountains for us to have. And you made the point of emergency road. What would it cost us if that road didn't exist to put that road in today? 20, 40, 60 million dollars?
Yeah, it's a long road.
And unfortunately, there's a few people in our town, we're all against it, that want to close it down. And I think, it's my opinion, is for kind of a personal monetary thing. They're using the idea that the trash, which there's a lot of trash on that road, as an excuse to close the road. Now, I grew up there, and y'all remember Dave Rowden, he was a game warden. Dave used to patrol that road. We didn't have as much trash when Dave patrolled it, and even more yet, Arnold Arnold Lagoon, we didn't have the trash then. We had some law. And I've been talking to a handful of fellas, we're willing to go down, volunteer our time, clean the trash. The town of Brandon's trying to claim that they spend $1,000 on maintenance. That's a crock of bull. Give us the $1,000 to pay for the trash at the dump. I'll get a handful of guys and we'll go remove it with our own dump trucks. But we want cameras on both ends of the road. We want signs that say we need law. There's law. This road is being patrolled by law enforcement. Okay? That's going to cut down a lot of it. And if we actually had some real law enforcement patrolling the road, it would be huge. I think the cameras are big. And like I said, we have people that are willing to volunteer to clean it. And the sad part is I've actually seen it. It's a lot of this trash, I feel, is from other towns. It's not locals. We all grew up here, you know? I would love to catch somebody because I got a 13. And I'm totally against it. I think Brandon trying to close it, I think is completely wrong. And I have handicapped friends who hunt it and they wheelchair it. They're trying to say the public can still get there. How much of the public? The elite? The people who got real money? What about the poor people who don't got the real money? It's wrong to change this road. My grandfather was in one of them CCC camps and built these roads. I think it's totally wrong. And the bottom line is, we need better law enforcement. We need more people like us to put our foot on the scum. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Karen Rhodes. I lived in Pittsford for quite a few years and now I've lived in Brandon for more. And the Syndicate Road has always been a nice road to ride on. There's not a lot of traffic. I know a lot of older folks and disabled folks that like to get out in nature and they can't when it's closed off. You know, they don't go in the winter, of course, because it's closed because it's not maintained very well, which is fine. Everybody understands that. But it's also a fire access road. In case there's a fire down there, you know, people can get through. And I think just closing it off and turning it into a trail, a lot of the folks that are in wheelchairs, they're not going to be able to see the whole road. You try pushing a wheelchair down those roads, it wouldn't work. But they can go and they can look and they can be in nature and not have it taken away. I heard an excuse from someone that there's drug deals down there, and I said, well, in Brandon, the biggest drug deal was right in front of the post office, so you don't close that. And I got some pretty sour cats my way. But drug dealing's going on everywhere, and I like the idea of cameras. I don't know if you guys would possibly consider that, because you go in with a load of garbage, you come out with no garbage, somebody's gonna catch you. And that's all I have to say, and I hope you consider not closing it. And I do understand that sometimes people get wild, or they ride buggies down there and stuff, but that happens everywhere. It's not just on one person's road. I had ATVs going behind my house all hours of the day and night, and then finally somebody bought the property, put a house up, and they're not going through there anymore. You know, and they've realized that one of the dads of the guys that, the daughter that bought the place, he walked out there and says, no more. This is not happening anymore. And it stopped. And I heard somebody say that they're, you know, put up signs for fines for $500. Someone else said put it up for $5,000 and enforce it, and the dumping will stop. Because if you close it, they're just going to dump somewhere else.
Yeah, you're right.
And
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Well, I'm Chris Shaner, Brandon. I know Dave, I know Dave's mother. She used to take it and patrol it more than anybody.
Yeah.
And she used to be my teacher. She spent more gas in 2 weeks than she did all year. And everybody that knows his mother knows that. And I've been hunting that road since I was 14. I'm 70 now. I got a license to shoot right out of a vehicle. So, but that's legal. And there's more than just hunting down there. You go across the bridge To the left-hand side, there's a pull-off. There's good fishing there. There's Willie's Ball. So it isn't just hunting. And yes, you do have trash, but they've been trashed down on the Syndicate Road as long as I've been driving on it. Dave will vouch for that. In fact, I used to go down and tell Dave when his gates were down. So. And I did work on the railroad, and it would be open, because I'll tell you what, if they went on the ground, they got a 4-inch grinder will take that, any lock or gate you want to put up on them. And they will, because they got jurisdiction at federal. So, and I was a foreman there, so I know a lot of what they can do. But I just can't see closing the road. Are you gonna close every road that's got garbage? Look at Route 7. You're gonna shut Route 7 down?
Well, then they should go down to Massachusetts, because the whole state is nasty.
Like I said, you're gonna have to shut it down, but, no, I just can't see it. So,
Thank you.
yep.
My name's Vicky DeSorda. I'm also opposed to closing the road, primarily because of the disabled hunters that are allowed to shoot from their vehicles. And when my uncle got too old to climb into a boat anymore, his friends would take him down there where he could just get out of the vehicle and real close by and fish. So I just feel like it's gonna exclude the elderly and the disabled from being able to enjoy, traditional Vermont activities. And I'm hopeful that just all the publicity the last couple of weeks is going to make people think twice about dumping. But if we don't catch the people who are dumping, they're just gonna find another dirt road and dump it there. So I'm for putting up cameras and just trying to catch the culprits. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you so much for coming and talking to us about that. I know we haven't, it is premature, like you said before, we haven't even been formally approached by anyone from the Brandon Select Board, so.
One last thing I'd like to say is when it comes between towns to close a road, Brandon, and you guys are a board, and you have all the rule, but something as big as this, that our forefathers put here for all of us, shouldn't that be a public vote to remove it versus a board of 8 or 10 people?
I think we
So, yeah.
definitely have
It
a
is.
public hearing.
That's, yeah, that would, yeah.
We wouldn't make that decision on
Right.
our own.
Yeah,
no.
there is a process for, we have to do public, both towns would have to do it.
Both have to do public
And if there's
hearings.
any opposition, it doesn't happen.
Well, unfortunately, I think we're getting a little stressed from the other side.
Yeah,
And we're trying to gather enough people to, this is not right.
yeah. Go ahead.
I just wanted to, in the select board packet in Brandon last week, the literature that was included, from what I was just reading it through, and it sounded like they had the power to close it and then you would have to appeal it if that happened. I'm not certain that all the literature pertaining to it was in there, but that's the way it sounded.
If they make the decision without us being involved, it goes to the state transportation board.
Yeah, that wouldn't fly. That wouldn't happen.
Yeah, I was gonna call it.
I want to thank you folks for hearing us, Brandon people, because
Absolutely.
we're completely opposed to this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a public thing. Yes, we got dirtbags out there, but some of us are trying our best. I mean, the sad part was, we went through trash and got names, but the law enforcement did nothing. So maybe we need to get the law enforcement more involved.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't want to speak for the board, but this isn't coming from us. No, I don't
No.
think anyone on this board is interested in closing that road.
No.
So,
And there's a few folks in town that are pushing for this for private interest. I believe they like to rent e-bikes to people that are tourists, and they like to have their own private little areas where they can have their own little private gatherings and stuff, but it excludes everyone. And I find it very irritating. I find it elitist, and I'm just hoping that when it does come up, because they'll probably be persistent in their approach to this and come up with all kinds of wonderful reasons why it should be closed, that you look at the picture, because there are some people that are really gonna try and push for this, and my thoughts are that it's for personal interest. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Last thing I'll say is Pittsford's side has always been the nicest. So it's that just, you know, that's just showing that Brandon needs to, you know.
Step up.
Let's get it together, guys.
Yeah.
If you folks will excuse me, thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming.
We have our own spot, like Elm Street, you know,
Oh,
down the
yeah,
end.
we got one.
Once a week, we're picking
I
stuff
know,
up down
I
there.
know.
It's just, it is what it is, but
Yeah.
I don't think
I
we're
think
gonna.
cameras is a.
I think
darn
Yeah.
good
Cameras
idea.
are always a good idea, I
Not
think.
only there, but I think the covered bridges should be.
Oh, we've been
have
saying, I
cameras.
know.
Talking about that too, yep.
They definitely should have cameras on any covered bridge.
Yeah, because we do, that is one of the dump spots, is by
Yeah.
by Cooley Bridge.
Right,
protects
yeah,
them, too.
down
So-
on the end there.
One more
Yep.
going on.
Well, you know, he says he's 70 years old. He was always known as Tiny. The other night, the phone rang, and it was Tiny.
Tiny.
So anyways, if you guys would just consider letting these people know, because I didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah,
And I said, you know, I'll come to the meeting and listen. So
Yep.
I think it would be in the best interest of Pittsford and these people that have come here to at least let them know, you know, where you are. I mean, obviously you had a meeting tonight and that's good. And
Yeah.
I heard you say that you weren't interested, or no one was interested in closing the
Yeah.
road. So, it is unfortunate in the years that I've had the towing business prior to my retirement. You know, I used to go down there and it's, but like they said, there's a lot of other roads around that are the same.
yeah. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, no, thank you.
Is that the gist behind the movement to close it, is the trash?
Well,
That's
the
one of them, I
excuse
think.
that's given.
that's, yeah.
But, I mean, to me, it seems a little, extreme, considering that our town just spent over 7,000 for fountains for a dog park, and then purchased the dog park, and we just did this huge, you know, this park-to-park trail, and so we spent thousands of dollars on these things, but we're gonna close an entire road for $1,000 for trash removal.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem right. And like this gentleman said, certain individuals may, you know, may enhance their businesses, and that's why they're interested.
Yeah.
I also think once you give up a road, you're never gonna get it back.
Yeah,
No,
So, that's something they wanna think long and hard on before you give up
Yeah.
a road.
right.
And already did.
I love to go out there and take photos. You know, there's a lot of birds, there's a lot of critters out there, it's
Oh,
really
Yeah,
nice.
I know, I drive it all the time.
Yeah, I better do that than Route 7
That's, I always avoid 7.
go slow.
Yeah. Nobody's passing you.
Yep,
Not-
yep.
Don't even come the other way sometimes, so.
Well, they should remember the one they closed, Sanderson's. That was a nice road.
Sanderson. No, they didn't. They ended up not doing Sanderson. They left it as a trail.
Right.
The one
they
that was
closed it,
closed
all-
was,
Really covered bridges.
It's all trees.
the one north Steinberg. That one was shut off.
Yeah, Steinberg.
That one
yeah.
was still open because they didn't go up the route to West.
They've put bollards, I think,
Oh,
on
did
it
they
now.
now?
Yeah.
I haven't been up a year or two.
yeah.
No, Sanderson never, I know it stopped being maintained, but I remember that hearing and they decided not to close it because a lot of people used it for
You'll
horse
never
riding
go in
and
there.
stuff. Yeah, I know,
It's all trees.
Yeah,
And they turned it into swampland.
yeah.
The last time the bridge got hit, which wasn't that long ago, there was this big discussion of what can we do, what can we do? When they showed it on the TV, there was nothing that said the height of the bridge, on the bridge, duh, number one. And number two is I said, you know, when you go into a parking deck, they have those poles and then they have a bar across it. You hit that bar, it's gonna take your lights off or it's
Yeah.
gonna peel the back of your truck off.
We talked about
So
that.
We talked
I
about
was
that.
suggesting not to see if it would be a good idea
Oh, yeah.
to stop them from destroying the road, you know, the bridges, the
Yep.
old covered bridges, because once you do that, they get more and more unsound.
I know.
There's some new thing, is it Linden? Because don't they have like 5 or 6 bridges? I think
Yeah.
they lost one.
They just
They've done
dismantled
something
one,
with
but-
chains or something recently that I don't know how the system works. I gotta call their town manager and see
either.
what they've done to it. I mean, fortunately, knock on wood, you know, our trucks don't make it that far like they do on Pearl
We got a
Street.
couple.
Well, I was gonna say, I know, we've had,
Oh, yeah.
Got better than halfway
Yeah.
before it stopped.
Yeah, yeah.
Be the corn truck down there.
I think they just, yeah, I know.
That'd be the one.
Sanderson Bridge.
Out of state.
No, that was a
The
local.
last one over next to Hardin, that got burnt.
Yeah.
The last one over there, Dino, was burnt.
Burned that one,
Change it.
yep.
all right, we have a lot more on our agenda, so, but thank you for coming.
Letting us speak.
Absolutely.
Be safe, have fun.
Yeah, thanks. All right,
See you later, bud.
Take care.
Tiny.
See ya.
all right, budget discussion,
Okay,
our favorite.
so, not much has changed since the last one, but I had a nice conversation with our fire chief today on something on this budget that I think would really help us out.
Okay,
So, in the fire department one, let me tell you what,
16.
thank you, and towards the bottom of their list here, there's vehicle replacement fund, and then there's the lease payments for the ladder truck. So I got looking at what we have in the reserve fund right now is $409,000 and change. And looking at, so I talked with Bill to see what they're, kind of like where they were with truck replacement. He's not looking to replace anything for about 8 more years. They do want to put a new tank on the tanker truck because it's leaking. So I said, so we're basically funding $110,000 to the truck replacement the way that this is budgeted. So did a little more research today and talked to the lease company to see what we could do for payoff on it. It's about $180,000 to pay it off, but we wouldn't have to pay about 20 grand in interest if we did that.
yeah, okay.
So paying that, our replacement fund would go down to 200,000. But just projecting like 8 years at 70, we're back up to almost 800,000. That would do away with the 40,000 for the lease payments, and then that right there is a percentage and just a little bit off our entire budget. So we'd still be putting money away, we'd pay the truck off, we wouldn't have to pay the interest. To me, it seems like, and Bill was totally in favor of it too. That would really, that'd save us $41,000 right there, moving forward.
Sounds like it makes sense to me.
I know, I don't see any,
I don't see it. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, if it's gonna save some bucks.
Yeah.
And, you know,
it leaves 200,000 in the
So-
replacement fund?
well, we're 409 right now, so 180, so wouldn't that be
Yeah.
210, somewhere there? And then just looking at 70,000 for the next 8 years, you
Yeah.
know, that's,
Right.
we're gonna be sitting pretty good.
Yeah.
And another 20,000 in interest we don't have to pay.
Yeah,
Right.
no kidding.
That's a big deal.
That is, yeah.
So, because I know there's a insurance, all that stuff is why we have to replace these vehicles. Otherwise, we could run them forever. So it's gonna be 8 years before we will have to replace one.
Yep, yep. The only thing he wanted to do, like I said, is they wanna put a new tank on the tanker truck, and the pump is like a trash pump that's 50 years old, so, or what, it's old. So they, you know, just wanna replace that, but the truck is itself in good shape, so, you know.
And roughly what's that?
I don't know, he hasn't gotten any quotes on it yet, so. But that seems like that really could help us with our
Yeah,
budget
no
this year.
kidding.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
Okay.
me too.
Great idea.
Cool.
So we can put numbers together and get a new budget out with that, but that, I can't, were there any other things we were looking at? Well,
I went through it after you left, and it's, yeah, I got a lot.
okay. So I know that Ann,
Minor little, like, additions.
yeah, I know Ann was looking at just where we're really sitting with interest and penalty revenue right now, so it'd be easier to project for next year, so, she wanted to add, yeah.
So, like, the penalties for delinquent taxes and the interest for delinquent taxes, penalties, instead of being 15,000, I'm gonna move it up to 18,000. That takes out a big chunk. I mean, this year we had 45,619.97 because we had a taxpayer that normally is never delinquent and a very large taxpayer delinquent. So so I've kind of pulled their total out and said, this is what roughly we would have got if they were not involved in it, and that seems to be kind of averaging where we've been at, because we now don't have V.S.A as an option, and a couple of other payments that were helping people pay during the COVID times, so more people are gonna be delinquent because they don't have that to fall back on. And then interest, move it from 12,000 up to 15,000. We're already at $19,000 for the year, and we still have another 6 months to go. But again, I had to back out somebody's interest to
Yep.
try to give a ballpark number that I felt comfortable, that was achievable, and not over or understating it by too much. And then I'm just going through and looking at all the revenue lines. A lot of them are gonna change slightly, most of them up, looking at where we are at almost the 6-month mark. So, the next time we meet, I'll have a new budget with more, what I feel are gonna be more accurate numbers based on where we're at right now compared to where we were a month and a half, 2 months ago when I started crunching.
All right, great.
Are there any lines that you see that are gonna be down as far as income goes?
No, I don't believe so.
Not from what we've already talked about.
No. I had hacked some of them pretty tight because I was looking at where we were at. Police department revenue, I'm going up on tickets because they've been pretty consistent on getting much more ticket revenue than we've had in the past.
Yeah.
Or, you know, ticket. And we're already, more than 2/3 of the way collected for what I thought we were gonna get this year. But there's no revenues that I'm going down on. There's a couple of expenses I'm going down on. There's a couple that I'm tweaking a little bit higher, but it's not thousands of dollars, it's more like hundreds of dollars, so it's not gonna, I think overall we'll be able to reduce the amount that we're asking for through taxes.
Yeah, like I know the mosquito district one, we wanted to boost it up like $1,000 just because it was, you know.
We're actually
it was-
getting finalized numbers.
Yeah, so that's helping, but it's small. I think it was $600 off or something like that, so.
Okay.
And insurance numbers we should be getting for our property, liability, et cetera.
Tomorrow, we're being
So,
told.
if I get those, I can actually put the actual closer to where we're actually gonna be at versus what I pie in the sky
Yeah.
from historical numbers, so.
All right, great.
So we should be pretty good
Yeah.
at the next meeting, I think.
If we don't have it finalized on December 18th, we definitely can do it January 8th, and that would be before we desperately need it.
Yeah.
Cause, I have to have the town report done, I believe, by January 18th or 20th, somewhere in there. I have to have
Okay.
town report completely done
Oh,
into the printers.
Okay.
Do you wanna make a motion for us to move forward with the fire truck payoff?
Yeah. I would like to make that motion, or unless somebody else would like to make that
I'll
motion.
make a motion.
Okay?
It's the ladder truck we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
You might as well save the interest money.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's better in our pocket than someone else's.
Absolutely.
It's a couple tires.
Huh?
It's a couple tires.
Maybe.
Yeah, only if you get
Maybe.
What are buying tires for?
Yeah. Exactly.
3 quotes. Any other questions about the budget before we move on?
Not at this time.
Okay.
And please don't hesitate to call us if you have, you know,
We will.
if you have a moment of clarity at 2 a.m. and like,
Yeah.
well, don't call me at 2
I was
a.m.
gonna say, I don't even remember watch what you're asking
Sometimes
for.
I'm up,
That
so,
will happen.
yeah.
I'm up early.
All right, let's move on to new business. We have a CEDDR and Real Rutland, Vermont Marketing Initiative. Hello.
Actually, like Dave to keep talking and saving you money before I talk.
Doesn't mean you're gonna get any more.
Oh. Yikes.
Well, thank you for having us. We're from the Chamber of Economic Development. We are a countywide organization. I'm Lyle Jepson, the Executive Director, and I've met most of you for many years. Olivia Buxbaum is here. She's our Communication and Marketing Manager, and she oversees the Real Rutland campaign, and that's Rutland County, not Rutland City. Our goal, if you were to say, what are we here for? specifically with this program, the regional marketing, is we want to bring more people to Rutland County. And we continue to have our businesses who are our members at the chamber telling us they need more employees. They need skilled employees. And it's hard to find those skilled employees. And the hospital right now has 125 openings for employees. And so what we're doing is we are reaching out around the United States using Olivia's skills to attract people to come here. Dave asked a good question on the phone. He said, we just want to know what does Pittsford get? What does Brandon get? What do the towns get from this? And so, we've got a little, of course, we've got our marketing materials to give you to show you what you get. But we do have a member of the Pittsford community who is a concierge volunteer, and Olivia can tell you what that means. We have had people move into Pittsford over the last couple of years, at least one family in last year that moved into Pittsford. But more broadly, people that move into the county are those skilled employees that we are going to be needing. So when I go to the hospital, I want to know there are nurses there. And when I go to other places, I want to know that, like when General Electric, we want to know that they've got the employees they need, because a considerable amount of wealth comes into our county because of General Electric. So if you just say, what are we doing? We're trying to reel people in and get them to move here. You're going to ask the next logical question, which is, where are they going to live? And so we also have a committee that's working on housing. And you've probably seen projections on how much housing is needed. A bunch of money just came in from the Treasurer's Office, $8 million into Rutland City specifically to rehab housing units there, using that money because we really need housing units. So why we're here is because you have been great in contributing $3,000 a year. I think it generally was in your budget. You are one of about 12 different communities that puts into the pot, including Brandon, and that was a great posse. If you ever need somebody behind you, that's the posse to have behind you. Brandon puts into it, Middletown Springs votes on it, Rutland Town puts in, Rutland City, Danby, Fairhaven, so a whole bunch of different communities are putting into this. And it's actually the smallest part of the money. It's about 30%. 70% comes from the business community. The hospital, General Electric, Casella, the businesses, they're encouraging us to help them find people and get them to come here. So, because you don't want to listen to me all night, I'm going to give you this because Olivia's put together a nice package and she's just going to quickly walk you through this. Because this is your money we're spending. We want you to know how it's being done and why.
All right, so as Lyle mentioned, we are putting this out to everyone across the country. And one of the ways that we do that is by hosting a weekend getaway. So it's basically an all-inclusive weekend with a focus on relocating here. So we have 5 families from across the country. They have to interview with me to make sure that they are legitimately interested in moving here, not just in it for a free trip. Yep. And we set them up with realtors. They've toured schools. They meet with employers. They meet people in the community and actually get a feel for what they want to do and where they want to move. One of the things that we do is a scavenger hunt, which we have some pictures of the families on the first page there on the right. And it's a way to get them to all of our 27 towns throughout the county so they can actually explore and not just go to like the hot spots in downtown Rutland. I will say a lot of the families are very interested in Pittsford. They tell me that. We've had families look at the Wedding Cake House a couple times. No one's bought it, obviously. But they love Pittsford and they love the feel of the town and the community. So that is
Where do
something.
they go with part of it?
So part of the scavenger hunt, they go to the New England Naval Museum.
Okay.
And if you would like me to send them somewhere else, please let me know. And I will send them there.
Yeah.
Maybe some ideas.
Nice ideas?
Careful, you'll have to recuse yourself.
I just made a comment.
They do go on covered bridge tours, some of them. So they do see the covered bridges as well. The sheet underneath that is a fact sheet. So this is basically just an overview of the program from the last 3 years. The last time it was updated was October 18th of this year. As of this year, people who have moved using this program, I can't find it. I have too many numbers. 42, that's not just this year, 42 people as of October from 2021. It's 42 people,
And these are
so.
42 that have
seems
come through the
wrong.
program. There are more people that have moved here, but they don't need our permission.
Yeah.
And we know they're looking at the materials, but they're just not connecting with our concierge volunteers. And so we have volunteers who, if you go onto realrutland.com and you ask somebody to talk to you, you will get a real person. And it's not a little bot down in the corner of your computer screen. It's actually Carly Haven, who is in our office, and she Zooms with people, talks to them on the phone, and answers their questions, like, what are snow tires? People in Texas don't know. And up here, we'll describe that to them.
Yes. Yeah.
And we set them up with concierges, which is what Lyle mentioned, that there's someone from Pittsford who's a concierge volunteer, and they're basically that first friend before you move here. So they ask those real questions that they might not want to ask Carly, like, what is it really like living there? Do you think that I should move here? And she connects them with people that are similar to them, so then, yeah, they click and they find their people easily.
And I find the cool thing, I'm going to interrupt.
Yeah,
The
go
cool
ahead.
thing about the Weekend Getaway program, Olivia got in front of 800,000 people. And we know that because they're clicking, and we can count all those clicks. So now we have a whole lot of information, and we know where they're coming from, and Olivia then can target communities that we know are where people want to move out of. And no surprise, Texas, 110 degrees, 90 days in a row. Nobody wants to live there because you're in air conditioning the whole time. We get a lot of Texans that want to come to Vermont. Get a lot of people from Colorado, which is very interesting, we find. So I know you've targeted different places.
And just to put it in perspective, so this is, I run analytics every month, and this was when we were running the Real Rutland campaign. So the blue bars are from June, when we did not have a campaign, and the green bars are from July, when we were running the campaign. And as you can see, the page views increased by 412%. And that's because so many people are going to our website, not just to sign up for the Weekend Getaway, but then they're going through and they're clicking, learn about our communities, learn about our county, and they're then going to other pages, which hopefully they're going to Pittsford's pages.
Do you have any way to track, or are you tracking if people are moving here and getting like jobs here, or if they're moving here and they still have remote jobs?
Carly tries to keep up with everyone, and I would say a lot of people have remote jobs.
Yep.
But there are also people, I'll use the Mendelsons, they're one of our most recent couples who moved here. They're probably early 30s, late 20s. They moved from Texas. They both have remote jobs. I know he definitely wants to phase out of that and get a job here locally. I'm not sure what her plans are, but we hear that too, that once people are here, they want to find a job that's
Okay.
here.
And on the back of that sheet, you'll see some of the,
This one.
you'll see some of the businesses that people have gotten into, different positions in different firms.
I have a question.
Yes.
More for Lyle, maybe, well, I don't know, either of you, I guess. So I'm looking at where your funding and things that you guys have been able to secure grants for. And the one that sticks out for me is this $489,000 from Northern Borders Regional Commission to construct a water line at the Airport Industrial Park. I am desperately trying to find funding for a sewer line project to run from Plains Road to Kendall Hill, basically. We have a landowner who has come in and talked to me more than once about developing that lot. Because we aren't building a wastewater system within our village or designated village, the funding really isn't there. So that would be huge for Pittsford because it's really one of the 2 or maybe 3 logical places that there's area for housing, but no one wants to put septic systems in, and getting that sewer line there would be huge for us because we would have more users, and we could probably connect some areas up here on the other side too. But looking for funding for that, it would be great to see what we could do before segment 3 of Route 7 starts, because that would be the time to get it done when they're digging it up.
That sounds like a follow-up conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a lot of people, and we've already got kind of draft plans for it and everything, so like, we're just waiting for some money to show up.
So that, the MBRC grant in here, and you're referencing the other side, over the last 2 years, these are projects we've been involved with, not necessarily running, but we've been involved with them. Some of them we are running, and these are funds that are coming into the county based on the work that we've been doing over the last couple of years. The Northern Borders Regional Commission Fund does fund projects similar to what you're describing. What this one is funding is a water line at the industrial park, and they were very, in Clarendon down by the airport, they're very interested in industrial parks. But it doesn't mean rule out water lines for sure for other purposes. And there may be other pots of money to look at as well.
Okay.
That connects down to our industrial zone land.
It gets really close to it.
Well, that's what, haven't I heard you say that businesses have reached out to you that want already ready-made industrial space?
Absolutely.
I mean, is there a way to help us get that going here? Yeah, we have the spots for it.
We have frequent calls for new industrial space with, 3-phase power, overhead doors, 20-foot ceilings. They have very specific, but they tend to be similar specific things that they're looking for.
Okay.
So we're hoping that for that project, moving water across the road at the industrial park will then be able to open up some space because there's more land there to develop some of that commercial property. There's an industrial park in Brandon that could also, but the old yours up there.
If we had buildings up there, we could have filled them 10 times over.
Yep. The cost for building buildings still is incredible. The reason that we're able to, and the reason we are trying to get money for water and sewer projects is because when you add that on to building a building, a contractor walks away. They're just not going to put in that amount of money. You can never get it back.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're working on those
We
projects.
desperately need to extend our sewer, and even with the bridge project, I got V-Trans to have that bridge ready when we want to go south. So, we're trying to make the small steps to make it happen, and pretty soon we're gonna have to. There's no housing. I mean, there's nothing for sale.
So at some point, I would love to come back and talk to you about any of the things on this list and the economic development things we're doing.
Yeah.
One project is this regional marketing initiative. We need to work on the people to fill the jobs, and then we also need to work on housing. We need to work on childcare. And it all has to happen at the same time. And so we have a lot of committees at CEDDR. We're also looking for people to be on committees to have lots of time on their hands. Now, Mary wants you out of the house.
Yeah, I think Liz is on one.
We have one retired member here on our board.
We got Liz Alvarado, and she's on the CEDDR board. So
On the marketing committee and working on this project.
Great.
So
When he's done, I'd like to, when you're
I'm
totally done.
never done.
When you're
Totally done?
I've been with you before, you're done.
I'm sorry. It's a curse. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, well, while selling is kind of a leap of faith, and I don't want to put a poison pill into it.
No.
But I support what he's doing because I've seen this thing start from the beginning and followed it up through. And it's really hard to quantify what you do for a single town, much easier for what you can do for a region. So I think that's what's important. And as a matter of fact, I had some x-rays done at the hospital last week. My x-ray tech was a visiting nurse from Texas, scoping the area out to see if she could tolerate the winters. She just bought her first winter coat and was willing to move here because she likes the area, she likes the hospital, she likes all of the things of that. But maybe a question for you, Olivia, is when somebody decides to settle and do you say to them, did you look at Pittsford and get that information and say, and they could say, yeah, we liked it, but we couldn't find a suitable house, or but for this or that or the other thing, so that the town could have some information to understand what they need to do to have people choose Pittsford instead of choosing Middletown Springs or Fulton or someplace like that. We know there's a wicked housing shortage in Pittsford. You can just, Dan, by just looking at the real estate for sale stuff. It's pretty...
What needs to be addressed, and I don't know how you could approach it, is a number of single-family homes that are being sold to investment companies so they can rent them out. I've sold 3 houses this year to retired people. I don't know why they're coming to Vermont to retire, but they are. So the working families, it's finding them a suitable home that they expect to buy here is getting tougher.
So we should, like I say, it's kind of a blind leap to invest in this. If you're not familiar with it, I would, if I was sitting in your spot, I'm not gonna tell you how to vote, never told anybody how to vote yet, well, wished, but, but, I think it's a worthy investment. There's Killington, the new Killington Village is breaking. It's, the development company has bought 10% of Killington. They're ready to do big things up there. Well, I think what's gonna happen, the mushroom effect at Killington is gonna spread entirely over Rutland County. I talked to some folks from Woodstock Sunday. They don't think any of the people that are coming to Killington are gonna go east. They're gonna come all west down into the valley. And they were adamant about that. And so I think there's an opportunity that if we're ready, if the town of Pittsford is ready, there's an opportunity. There's a lot of construction going on. There's a lot of people coming. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The first phase of the project is not affordable housing. It's people that can move here, that can afford to do that. But around the project, there's some affordable housing. The town of Killington is talking about building employee housing for this project. This is how much money and how much people are looking forward to seeing this project. And the developers, they're well funded. The project's going to go. It's just a matter of permitting and timing and all the other things that they have to do. So I think the town should be, in my opinion, not a legislative opinion, it's just a personal opinion. We don't want to be left off the train. We want to be. I would think that the town would want to be part of this whole thing that's going to boom. It may not boom in my lifetime for the entire build, but it's going to happen. And so I think it probably is a wise investment. I know it's $3,000. It's $3,000 on your budget, and that's a lot of money. But I think it's worth it. But I think you should ask Lyle to do stuff for you too. I think seriously, I do. And if he doesn't know what we need, he can't help us.
Yeah.
I have a question for Lyle. All these things you list off and a lot of the roadblocks we have when it comes to housing, we have childcare, we have a lot of things, it's because of the regulations that are in place. Our septic regulations are way overdone.
Yep.
Our childcare regulations have put that into a spiral. It was fine before that happened. Are you doing anything to try to knock down some of those regulations so we can get to work? We would have single-family houses more in this town if we didn't have to deal with a $50,000 septic every time we went to it. It's not needed.
So we are trying to tackle some of those things. I'm glad you brought it up. Act 250, it's still a problem. Now, in Rutland, they've got a way around that now with Act 181, and they are exempt in certain areas. That's great for them. It's not great for all those other tiers that they're now going to come up with out here, and they're going to put you, we would hope, into a Tier 1B maybe out here, but if you're in a Tier 2 or 3, it's going to be much more difficult to get what you're looking for housing. So we are advocating for the tier system, but making sure those tiers where you can build are expansive enough so you can actually do something. We're also working through the 3-acre rule piece. You've probably heard about that too, where if you've got 3 acres of impermeable roofs or whatever, that now you've got to do mitigation. Very costly. This guy can talk about that all day, I'm sure. But just the permitting to do that kind of stuff is incredible. So we're pushing back on that. Are we going to get anywhere? There are like 600 people in the Agency of Natural Resources who their jobs are dependent on having all of these regulations. And now I'm starting to talk political, sorry.
It's about 580 jobs not
Too
needed.
many,
Yeah. So we have a problem. And I'll say it out loud, this is Lyle's personal opinion, and not like, I'm glad Phil Scott's in there because he knows what some of these issues are. And he's tackling some of those issues, and he's pushing back on those issues. And I think you saw reactions during the election that people are fed up with it and they want to get some moderation going. And one of the things with this program that Olivia's talking about is we've got this tax pie that's about this big and it's not getting smaller. And the only way that my personal taxes can get any smaller is if we slice those pieces a little thinner. So I need more people here who are working at working age so that we can slice that pie a little thinner.
Agreed, but the pushback is needed.
We have to push back.
So on that,
And that's part of our job, and we have a policy committee that's doing that.
something on that, the whole, areas that we are kind of Act 250 exempt, like ours is our designated village district. However, I think I did bring this up to you guys a while back. I did speak with someone I know at DEC, Lynette Cladon, she's been following the Route 7 projects, and she's a wealth of knowledge. One of the things she suggested was that we look at doing a neighborhood designation on this end of town, because then we have another designated district where we would be able to get funding for water, sewer, storm, and things like that. So might be something I would like to talk further with you on too, but that's one way to get around it. If we can designate another district, then that district becomes exempt from a lot of the red tape. And that's where that's where our housing needs to go is. So, yeah. But we just need to get that last piece in there, and that's the thing, like everything's kind of floating around and,
Unfortunately, it always feels like it takes a long time to get where we want to go. But we gotta keep going there.
one other thing I just wanted to add that's not even infrastructure related, which is odd for me. One thing from, when I first came to town, Alicia took me around to like the library, the historical society, and I think the village farm and a couple other places. And looking at the calendar of events of things that go on in this town will blow your mind. Like, I never even thought, like driving through for how many years that there was this much going on in Pittsford. And that, I think that would be a huge selling point is, well, here's what's happening. And then they put these calendars out every month. It's pretty impressive. So.
I think Olivia is doing that already.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I just started, every week a new video comes out and it has a list of things to do around Rutland County this weekend. And Pittsford's been on it every single time because you always have something going on, which is great.
Don't forget our rec area.
Yes.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, we do have an amazing rec area, really.
It's a hidden gem.
We've got an excellent school too in Pittsford.
Sure do.
One of our drawing cards too.
Yep,
Yeah.
Owls have had a fantastic school here.
including this magical little preschool right behind this building. Did I just point the wrong way? I
I
did.
saw it.
I knew, as soon as I did it, I was like, wrong way, wrong direction.
That way.
Got the 18-hole disc golf course. You've got a great rec department. You've got things going for you.
Yep,
That golf course sees a lot of out-of-staters.
it
It's
does.
amazing.
I bet.
There's always a lot of plates from all over the place in
it's
our rec parking lot.
People love playing there. Everyone I've talked to, and I don't see them a lot, but Liz sees them a lot. They come from New Hampshire, Massachusetts, New York. It's crazy.
The walking trails we got
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
Yeah, and if we get this
Trail.
Tri-Town Trail thing put together, I'm sure you've heard about that's gonna be great too. So it'll really connect things together. But
Well, we hope you would consider re-upping with sponsorship. You've been there since the beginning. We started this in 2017. We appreciate the support. We also recognize the pressure you're under to make sure you get a budget that your voters will appreciate. So,
Yeah.
thank you for your work, because none of that's easy, none of it. And that's what we had.
All right,
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you guys.
Appreciate
If
it.
we aren't going to be insulting, we might leave.
No, we will not be insulted.
We won't hold you hostage.
there's no one in the room by the end of the night.
Yeah, they're still laughing.
Even Butch leaves sometimes.
Go while you can.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
guys.
Nice seeing you, buddy.
See you later.
I'll be calling you out.
Good. Let's talk.
You want something on that now, or?
I know, do we need to,
I mean, we can talk
hard.
budget.
Honestly, it's not in the budget right now.
oh, it's not?
It's not in the budget
The
now.
$3,000 is not, and the $500 cedar membership is not.
Didn't we pay it last year?
So this wasn't done
We-
last year?
No, it was.
No, we did. I thought it was.
The $3,000 was,
It's not carried forward in this proposed budget?
What,
Okay, so I will make a motion to do this just to get discussion going.
Yep. So we need a second.
I'll second it.
All right.
Okay, so now we can discuss that.
Talk about it.
So, I would much rather see our money going to this than some of the other things we have in there for special appropriations, myself personally. Because I think this probably, does it specifically help the town of Pittsford as far as people moving here and whatever? I don't know, they don't seem to be able to quantify that, but the fact that it appears to be helping our entire region,
Which
I
does
think
help us.
we're part of that region, and, you know, there's gotta be some trickle down to us somewhere in there.
So this hasn't been historically done as a special appropriation, it's just been a part of your budget.
Is that the way it's been? Okay, well,
It's just like a membership versus.
It's like the
So-
intergovernmental type.
but again, I would prefer seeing this if there's a, and again, I know these special appropriations,
it's
there's some
listed,
of them that I just don't think we should be doing.
it's
I know there's
listed
some we
under
have to.
special appropriations, but it's not a special appropriation. We have a few
Yeah, we need
that
to
are
do that.
listed in special appropriations that we really need to pull out of special appropriations and either create a new category or put them into intergovernmental, because this is one of them. Rutland Regional Ambulance,
Yep.
the solid waste, Rutland County Solid Waste District, and the bus.
right.
All should not be under special appropriations. They
Yeah.
really should be under
Their own-
Something else.
whatever we wanna call it,
I think
that's
that's
not.
a logical thought process.
Yes.
Yeah,
Why don't we create one this year and just do that?
I think
Got
that's
the
a
budget
good
coming.
We'll mention it tomorrow to the bookkeeper.
All you, Dave, all
So,
you.
you know, Lyle brought up something that's very important, I think, for Pittsford. This village is gonna go up in Killington. It's gonna have a big, it's gonna have a big ripple effect down here.
Yeah,
And the other big thing is, this hotel that's going in down in Rutland is, that's key. And there's people already making investments in new businesses down there ready for it. This could echo very well for our town. And right now, we need economic push,
We do.
because we need the pie.
Well, you know, one thing that's like, there's really no lodging
Right.
anywhere in Pittsburgh, except for I'm sure people have Airbnbs somewhere.
Some
but, you know,
Airbnbs,
that's
yeah.
like one thing.
not anymore.
Oh, Mountaintop is expanding all over the place and right into Pittsford, let me
Are
tell
they?
you. Yeah, I've caught wind of a lot of people that are now part of the Mountaintop Resort system where your guests get the use of all of the Mountaintop facilities if you're part of their rental program. And they've even bought up a few properties around, quite a ways from the inn. So that's expanding. I think they're banking on, the short-term rental thing just growing and growing and growing.
I agree with you that.
Doesn't
I
help
remember
working people to find homes.
having this
That's
conversation
the
with
other side of
John years ago, like, Rutland's our shire town, no matter how we feel about it.
It is.
And if Rutland grows, the rest of us are gonna grow. And
We're about 2 or 3 good employers away from having a real explosion down there, but those are hard to come by, and you,
I don't want
That's
us
what
to
we
miss the boat on housing, and I feel like we are just, there's nothing, we need something.
our hands are tied by the state, that's the problem.
I
It's
know.
not so much us, there is room for single-family housing, but the state is tied up.
Within that 1 mile circumference where you don't, but we need our subdivision regulations, am I right? To qualify?
I'd have to look at that,
I
Dan.
think that the Act
I
250
thought that
thing
if it was in the designated thing that you had that,
Is in a
What is it,
town
that
with zoning
1 acre,
and
5
subdivision.
or something?
I think your conversation with Lyle will help you through the tier process, that he was talking, this tier process.
Yeah.
Tier 1 is the best tier you
Yeah, I
can
have it.
have. Water, sewer, sidewalks, wastewater, stormwater,
our
all that
village
stuff. So if
qualifies
you
for
have
it,
all
the
that,
village
there's no
district
Act
qualifies.
250.
But the problem is the village district,
No
Only for a place
there's
our
no,
screens.
there's nothing to build
Build
anymore.
a village, unless you
Right.
go up.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so but there are a few properties within, I think some of it's in the village district. One of them belongs to Craig Billings, just off Route 7.
I think so.
And I've talked to him a few times, and then he doesn't take it any further about cluster housing or small lot subdivision in there.
The district starts at the top of the hill on 7, south by Maple Fields, and ends up just here at Plains Road. The width it's pretty wide, so I think, is this the one that's like?
Craig's in it.
Yeah, I think he's in it, behind like
believe he is.
the dismissal property,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that one is in it.
Yeah.
But,
Should be.
well, you know,
At least some of it.
looking at like this, trying to do a neighborhood designation will help.
Well, that could qualify. There's quite a few acres out there.
You're right, Dan, those are the things that you all need to look at to make yourself a tier-type person that maybe not today, but in the future will ease the transition into, away from Act 250. You know, away from a lot of their regulations that single-family homeowners are, and especially developers.
Well, I think the whole tier system is a bone that Act 250 is throwing out there because they want everything to go on in the villages.
Right.
They don't want.
They don't want you out.
They don't want you
And the
spread out anymore.
legislature's the one that did it, so you can't blame Act 250.
And
You should
looking even
the
at like,
legislature.
you know, we just had Casella Construction relocate their headquarters to, you know, the old Kenworth place, and they're looking at 120 employees, and we've talked to them a few times. They want to get water there, and the water line's not that. We've talked about it
Yep,
before,
yeah,
but we'll get there. But
Not that far away.
that's a nice business to have in town, you know, because it's only going to grow. So
Absolutely.
really being able to accommodate people like that, I think, I'd like us to be ready to do it, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
instead of
I know.
trying to figure it out after the fact. So we'll get there, but it's, yeah.
Well, then it goes back somewhat to doing away with perhaps the planning commission and getting a
DRB.
DRB.
But you'd still do
Or a
planning.
planner.
Right. Oh, yeah, well, I think you still need a planning commission though.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But that's another paid position.
Yeah.
Well, I think anything that we can do to step up our game, given what's already in place and gonna happen, I think it's gonna have very positive effects here.
Want to vote on that?
Move for a vote?
Yeah.
Madam Chair, lady.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. All right, moving on. Reappraisal, RFQ needed.
Do you want to talk about that first or personal property?
They're right after each other, whichever one you'd like.
They're part and parcel, they are, but they
Yep.
aren't. So,
Okay.
I'm gonna over here where I can look at people without looking at the back of Butch's head and feel like I gotta do this to talk to you. So, I'm gonna be very blunt with you, as I usually am, about personal property. I am not a personal property appraiser. I am a licensed real estate appraiser. I carry a license for that. I am outside of the scope of my license to even do personal property. I had never committed to this town that I would do personal property appraisal because I'm not qualified to do it. So I need the expertise of someone like Gail. And Gail's the only game in the Northeast that I know of. PBR gives us absolutely nothing for this. Personal property is different than real estate. So the idea of putting it off for a few years it's different for real estate, for personal property than it is for real estate. While we pick up changes for real estate, personal property, they have to file an inventory every year, even if nothing has changed, because depreciation has changed. They may have deleted assets, some may have fallen off the list because they are down to the bottom level of depreciation. That's the work of more of almost a CPA appraiser than a real estate appraiser. You don't want me as your CPA. You don't want me as your personal property appraiser. And here's what's at stake here. Personal property is almost 10% of your overall municipal grand list. Do you know that? Look at your 411. You got 38 million for personal property and a total of 397 million for all of your municipal grand list. So 10% of your grand list is tax revenue at just your municipal rate. And the state doesn't get any of this. This is all yours. This is all the town of Pittsford. Is $257,000 a year. Compare that to Gail's contract for $12,000 a year. You wouldn't not pay me to go out and pick up all the new houses in town. You had a lot of growth last year, and you'll have quite a bit this year, because we've had quite a few houses, more houses than I've had in any of my other towns, by far, even if I account for the size difference for Pittsford. There's a lot that goes on here. Same thing with personal property. Now granted, we all know that there's one taxpayer who is approximately 90% of that personal property grand list. But that is one hell of a complex property to do, even for a personal property appraiser. So when the listers were doing that on their own, hats off to them, because I wouldn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. I did it during COVID, my first year here, because it was kind of an emergency. What could we do? We had to get it done. And, you know, my sister working for PVR and formerly a lister years ago, or lister secretary in Pittsford, helped me with it just on an emergency basis. Not my forte, not my skill set to do. If it had to be done in-house, if you don't approve Gail's contract, I'm gonna have to probably pawn it off to Karen, and I don't really feel comfortable signing a grand list for property I didn't appraise. I'm not qualified to appraise. I think I'd be doing the town a huge disservice if I don't advocate to keep Gail's contract. Now, down the road, if you want to get rid of personal property, that's a town vote. You got to do it town meeting. That's on you to decide and put to the taxpayers. But, you know, you give up 10% of your municipal grand list, there's that pie again. And what you're going to do is shift that tax burden to somebody else. It's not about getting more money for the town. You remember that conversation we had when a few taxpayers in town said, well, the town's just doing personal property because they want more money. Like, nope, that's not how any of this works. It's about equal distribution or equitable distribution of that burden of paying taxes. So that's what my song and dance is about, advocating that. So it may be a deal breaker for me. I work for 6 towns. I do private appraisals. I'm taking care of a mom with dementia. There is no extra room in my bandwidth to even talk about this much further. We need Gail's help, plain and simple. We've saved a lot of my time by having Karen, who's awesome. I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do when Karen retires, quite honestly. If you have any source for new Karens for me, I need to recruit people like that.
I brought you the first Karen.
Well, no, I knew her before you did, Dave. So together we poached her from Brandon.
We did.
Well, not yet from Brandon. She hasn't left Brandon yet. But she's now working in Chittenden too. I mean, there's nobody else stepping into this role. So that's another thing to talk about down the road. I've been talking to Mary Ann about it too, about posting a position for assessor clerk and try to work out some kind of job share maybe between a few towns. Karen and I have kind of patched that together to become a full-time job by working for different towns. But, you know, that's not for everybody. That's a little scattered of an existence and a livelihood. So it's hard to recruit young people to do it. I've talked to a few people, I thought it would be perfect for them. They're like, yeah, no, not interested. I don't know how to make assessing cool. Maybe my dad could have. Maybe Christy can. I just can't sell it. I can't sell it. It's been all right for me. So if I can get your consideration on the personal property, and then we do need to talk about reappraisal. It's due time.
When was the last, is this done every year?
So you have to review the inventory, the taxpayers have to submit personal property inventory every year. Business personal property, if we're still on that. They have to submit that every year. And you have to review that and determine if what they've reported is reasonable. And I'm particularly with some of the complex properties that we have. I mean, it's a complicated tax return and, federal depreciation schedules and on, and it's way beyond my qualifications. The same thing I'll tell you when we go to do a reappraisal, when we're talking about appraising the real estate for really complex properties. way beyond the scope of my abilities, and it's gonna be, quite frankly, way beyond the scope of most appraisal contractors, so that's something you're gonna have to think about. I mean, if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it right, and you gotta be fair to everybody, and sometimes that means getting the expertise to appraise the more complex, really high-end properties as fairly as you appraise the standard residential ones. Otherwise, you're dumping more of the burden on those residential taxpayers, potentially, just because you didn't know and you didn't get the right information.
What was the number you said that was the income to the town, the personal?
257,000.
It's at the town tax rate, that's what the town gets.
That's for 2024 at the municipal tax rate of .6744. That 38, and I've got a little worksheet for you. If you want a copy of that, I can send that around. You can make a copy of that.
I'd like that.
Yeah, pretty simple formula, you know. Send that around if you want.
5%.
You know what? That should go with it.
5%.
That helps your understanding of where the personal property falls in.
So I guess, we've had this discussion, you probably overheard us having the discussion, which is why we just got the lecture we got, which is fine, sometimes we need to be lectured.
It's not a lecture, Dave, it's kind of an ultimatum, it might be a deal breaker for me.
We're both of the same genetics, and when we talk, people think we're lecturing them, but anyway.
It is what it
I
is,
fully
Dave.
get it.
It's family stump again.
Yeah. So, but, I think, at least myself personally, I'm not gonna speak for Tom or Mark, but we thought, when this was initially done, we did it, took 2 or 3 years worth of going around finding out what people had. Guess didn't realize there was this extra component of checking on everybody every year. That's
That
the
is
part
did,
that I was not.
Did Gail's proposal get to you all? Because I
Yes.
have that and I forwarded it to.
I printed it for all of them, and it was at their stations tonight.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So Gail kind of outlines some of what she does in that. So yeah, it's the same,
Looks like this, Tom.
you know, some of them are very simple. And if we could pare out some of those, I would love that. And I don't know if, Dave, you were on the board then, not everybody was. When we initially talked about this, we talked about getting rid of all the accounts that were literally more administrative cost to mail out the tax bill than the revenue. And VLCT's attorneys told us, oh no, you couldn't do that. You'd have to do a cutoff at the bottom for everybody. But I feel like that's ridiculous. There's got to be some other way around it. So I don't know, talk to another attorney that, I mean, VLCT lawyers always give you the very cautious answer, and you don't want the town to get into trouble, but it seems absurd to send out a tax bill for literally $3. Some of them were for $3.
Right. Oh, yeah.
We talked about that.
We talked.
I mean, if nothing else, perhaps we could abate them and, you know, give the town clerk the ability to just abate them and not send them out. For $3? No, give the town clerk authority, we won't have to have a hearing about it. Just a thought, it's not a lot of work. I mean, it is some amount of work, it's mailing, it's administrative.
I can see where the league's saying that, because if we give one person a break, we should be doing it for everybody.
Oh, yeah. I get
And
it.
part of the problem, it's like the building permits that are, you only have to pay something if your project costs more than $5,000. Everybody's project costs $4,900. So that's, you know, you might create kind of a way out for people. So I can see why they say, you know, maybe it's just the only way to be equitable about it. But a $3 tax bill just seems pretty silly to me.
Costs more to work with.
Yeah, I don't know if she ever even collects on them. They don't end up delinquent, do they?
I only have 2 personal property tax ones that have been delinquent for several years. One lives here in town. doesn't care to listen or read my notes that I put on. And one of them is out of state, and I've talked with Karen to try to get, and Gail to get updated information on their address and location. Because they have stuff here, but they're not located here. So.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, most of, I think I have 1 or 2 new ones that are delinquent right now, just because taxes were just due. But they're ones that have always been collectible in the past, so I don't see an issue with them being collected this year.
Well, you sing a pretty good song. And we don't really want to do this every year. No. But we're not gonna put the whole system.
You probably don't want to pay me what you pay me every year, but if you didn't, like, my analogy is, you wouldn't pick up those houses.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, but we see the houses, the other stuff.
That's the hard part. That's why we need Gail, because I don't see that other stuff either. I don't, it's not on my radar, it's not in my skill
It's one of those things we don't love in our budget, but it's a necessary,
I don't think we have much of a choice, I'm afraid.
I mean, at least you can demonstrate you're getting something for that expense, unlike, not to bash the chamber, but, that's kind of nebulous what you might or might not ever get from that.
So hypothetically, which has been on my mind for a long time, if somebody's taking a single-family home and renting it as an Airbnb or such kind of thing, that is a business, correct?
It probably is on their taxes, but as far as how I tax it, it comes down to highest and best use. And
well, no.
You're not gonna like my answer to that. It does become a business. The problem is, I've been saying for years.
Well, does she pick up the furnishings and the appliances and so forth in those houses?
I thought you were getting to, whether it was appraised as a commercial property. And the income, where I was going with that is the income approach is starting to be pretty valid for a single family home. And I always used to say, that's not valid for a single family home, but there's so many darn short-term rentals that people are buying them for the income stream of renting them.
Exactly.
So that is a business. I think that's an excellent point, yeah.
But they're not classified as such on the tax rolls, are they?
Wasn't there just something that...
We did some legislation last year in the Ed Fund. And the Ed Fund would place a tax on short-term rentals.
I thought there was something.
So they're registered somewhere?
Somewhere, yeah. The ones that register are registered somewhere.
So,
that was the last.
I'm all for trying to discourage this because we have a shortage of single-family homes.
Right.
So, if the furnishings in that house are used for this business, can it be added to the person's
I don't know,
property?
you could argue, is that double taxation if they're getting taxed for like a meals and rooms tax, as short-term rentals? I mean, would you pick them up for a hotel? I guess you would, if we had a hotel in town. Gail would be looking at furniture and all that personal property.
It's the same thing.
I think you got a good point.
Up desks.
Absolutely.
So how is it any different?
Well, that might be more work for Gail. I would have to ask her about that.
It would be, yeah.
I think the biggest complaint I get from people is not so much like, a lot of the local businesses, what they end up paying is not a lot. It feels invasive. That's the complaint that I hear.
Yeah.
Some of those same people think what I do is invasive.
Yeah.
Will never, ever let me inside their houses or their businesses and,
So you do it the highest you can.
have to make a reasonable guess that's fair to everybody on the outside, is what I have to do. That's my song and dance on that one, Tom.
Unfortunately.
I always said you want to come on in.
That's the whole thing, or we
Might as well.
Yeah, but as far as they're going for acreage,
Yeah.
So,
No, it's a fair question.
Part of what she does, trying to find other businesses where aren't filing this yet.
Yep.
Right.
That's part of what she does.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the new accounts that were last year. One was, furniture maker over on West Creek Road, and, he wasn't happy about it, but, Gail worked with him. Gail's very fair and, explained the process to them, and, the fact is, the way we do personal property in this town, we depreciate it pretty heavily. Rutland Town, has always done market value personal property, and that's a lot bigger stakes.
Yeah.
Their tax rate's lower than yours is though.
Yeah.
Or it always has been.
Because they have a huge local option
Well,
tax
yeah.
income, that's why.
And, well,
Yeah, well, we can have more of that.
it's that and a lot of things.
They do, no, they do.
They have
a lot of business.
Geez, I
That's why I don't
know.
buy stuff there.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Alright.
factors.
I'd like to make a motion that, even though I don't wanna do this, I think we need to do this,
Yeah, we do.
this agreement with G and K as outlined.
Okay.
What was it, 12?
It's in
12, yeah.
12,000, right?
12,000? I see it somewhere. I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
So the 12,000 is the total fee. Oh, need a second?
No, we had a
We already
second, go
have it,
ahead.
yeah.
Unless she finds new accounts and then has a
Review
pay
and
structure.
process of 36 leasing accounts.
As outlined in the
Yeah,
presentation.
86 field accounts is 12,000.
I think our total number of accounts has held fairly steady, where some drop off, some of the leasing accounts drop off, and others, businesses close down, and others come in, so I don't think there's been a huge overage of new accounts.
Okay.
No, something to do, I think.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
They did a good selling job.
Yeah, well, now we got,
That's a weight off of me, thank you.
all right, so now we
So
gotta talk.
reappraisal,
Yeah.
which is a big weight on all of us. So you've been ordered by the state to, what's that?
We have money too, set aside, right?
We've been setting money
Yes.
aside, it's supposed to have been.
How much have we got set aside? Do we
I
have
can
enough?
grab the sheet.
What
Is it on your
percentage are we
desk?
at right now?
Yeah, it's attached to the back of my.
We're about to get our study, oh, I don't have that in front of me and I should.
Oh, the
We're in
CLA number?
70s. We're in the 70s now.
That's today.
I was at the
Changes,
school board
right?
meeting last night, they said Pittsford was at 68.
68%?
Move that much.
How do they know that ahead of?
Move so much.
What
that-
Just telling you what I heard at the school
We were
board
82
meeting.
before.
They're telling the school board
Shoot
before
the
they're
messenger.
telling me?
I don't know.
Ooh. I'd like to know the context.
Because
for
some
that,
of the
yeah.
towns were even, some of the towns were really hard hit. I think,
I wouldn't be
Sudbury
surprised
and
if
Whiting
we're,
maybe, they're like,
oh, I wouldn't be surprised if we're in the 60s.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the sales we've had come in have been 50%. And it's a 3-year average that's keeping it from being 50%, you know?
There is $124,095.86 in the reappraisal.
I knew we had some money there.
How much, Dave?
124?
64%
$125,000.
is what they said last night. I took notes, 64% was our CLA.
How much
At
is
least
That's
this
what they're projecting.
basically
That's what
used to
they're-
be when we do
This
it?
has absolutely not been determined
Brenda
by the
Fleming,
state.
the finance director, she read off very specific numbers for all the towns, but that's what she
Wow.
said Pittsford's
Huh.
was. Just saying.
So
She must
we're
just
at,
be projecting
we're
it,
assessed
'cause it
at
has not been determined
64%
yet.
of fair market value.
Yeah, which means, so I mean, that's bad. That
That's this,
penalizes
at
us.
this moment.
Per the state.
Yeah,
For the
per-
state.
For the
Per
state.
their crazy calculations, because statewide funding, but townwide assessments.
So I have a question I want to direct to you. When I looked at this list last year of all the towns in Vermont, I saw ones like Bridport hasn't done it since 2008.
Right, right,
And a lot of other ones that have been that long.
yeah.
It seems to me like we just did it, even though it probably was a little longer.
Well,
Well, you're breathing on 10 years
Yeah,
and you
we're
won't
supposed
get
to
it
10
done
years.
for
Are we at 10 years already?
2026 would be 10 years, but there's no way you're gonna get one for 2026. I would predict the earliest you're probably gonna get
27,
contractors 2029.
That's why we should be
Well, I
scheduling.
guess-
28,
we
but I
gotta go
doubt
on.
it.
Really?
Can't
Yeah.
We have to.
All right.
So, but, well, the good news
doing
is
it.
that
It's there.
you'll save some more, you'll get some more, from that per parcel payment from the state. We might wanna do some math on that and see if we will have enough, because we're talking, between 110 and 125 a parcel typically for most reappraisal projects for small towns. So 124,000 is definitely not gonna cut it. That's gonna be like half of what you need.
So are you saying the state does chip in some towards the
You
reappraisal?
get $8 a year that I think Pittsford has been pretty good about putting that in the account and,
I thought so,
and
yeah.
not using it
How much
for,
is going
you know,
in the-
too many other projects. The state has never intended that to fully fund a reappraisal, if that's what they tell us, and
We
it's
just get a
fine
state
for
payment
towns.
every year, I'd have
So
to
they
look up the
contribute
account.
$8 per
Per parcel.
No, no, no. What do we put
Per
into the
year.
fund?
Yes.
We don't in our budget, we don't put anything in reappraisal, we just put whatever the state gives us into that
So the
account every
money
year.
that we have in
State
reserve
gives us.
is money from the state at $8 per property per year.
Yep.
If you think of it this way, Mark, we're really doing a lot of the state's work because that education tax
Oh, yeah.
goes directly to the state.
Well, yeah, it's our
That's
money, they're just
three-quarters.
regurgitating
Well,
it.
yeah, but it's, the town is incurring the expense. If you go to a costly tax appeal with a taxpayer, the town is funding every penny of that.
Oh,
And the state has no skin in that game. They aren't funding it at all. They give you no help for legal, nothing.
Well, the other side of that is letting them do statewide, which has been discussed, and that's not gonna be a good
Ooh, yeah,
thing. That
We'll
would,
be here all night if you ask me about that, yeah.
We might have more in there.
There are some things that could be done statewide to standardize things, in my opinion, but
Working
it's not
with a
that.
tax system that was established in the 1700s.
Yeah.
So, but that's part of the problem.
The pushback that we got looking at a statewide reappraisal run by the state and the ed fund taxes being paid to the state was the town's pushback really hard because how much money do you make investing the taxes you collect for the ed fund in the short term? Could you collect? I'll rephrase my question.
Could we?
Yeah,
We could
Yeah.
get a substantial amount.
right, if you invest that money, and that was huge pushback, especially from the smaller towns, because they balanced their budget based on that, on the interest earned, on the ed fund taxes coming in. I don't know how long you hold them. It doesn't take long to hold them to make.
Well,
make-
never mind. How on earth is the state gonna ever do it more efficiently
They're hanging
or
out the
less
door.
costly
We didn't talk
than
about it.
towns
We
can do
didn't
that?
get that.
You know it would cost 3 times as much and it would not be more equitable. It would absolutely not be more
Three
equitable.
with a,
So, we should have
No,
two-thirds of it.
no,
We don't
no,
have
we're
that.
not going there. We're not going there.
No, we should invest in the budget.
We just hold it in an
That's
account.
Right to the
That's good.
hour.
Let's back up here. We pay the state 3 times a year.
no, we
No.
pay the education, we pay
Education.
our NESU.
We did it
From
last
the taxes
meeting.
that we collect.
From the taxes that we
But it's
collect.
paid, I think, isn't it 3 times a year?
oh, maybe, no,
It's 3 with a reconciling fourth payment as
Okay.
needed.
Okay. All right,
2
yeah.
million last meeting.
So, it's about 2 million each meeting.
So we do hold
Yeah.
that money for,
Yeah, we got like over $4 million sitting there.
So it should be in a CD or something.
It should be, but I don't think it is it?
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not the treasurer, so I can't tell you that, but we did do it with ARPA.
Why would they not?
Yes, I agree, we should be making money off.
That should be something on a per day basis.
Well, I know we've got a new person from TD coming in, right?
I think we better look at that real quick.
Oh, I agree with you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that could be covering a lot of.
Absolutely.
Yeah. $4 million, even 6 months.
Yeah.
so what are we looking at doing for today? Do we need to make, do we need to vote
So
on
my-
going to hire, going?
My recommendation is you send out an RFP
Okay.
and get that together to bring a draft of an RFP to the board, or maybe the board will delegate,
Okay, yeah.
you know, Dave and Ann to work with me to send something out. The questions I think you want to think about are, one is your Canvas system. Do you want to stay with Vision, or do you want to open the bid up to the possibility of doing it in another software? The only 2 software packages I would even entertain are Patriot or Vision. You'd be going back in time to use the other ones.
Okay.
I think John Ujer actually did you all solid by moving you to Vision. And there could be a huge advantage to staying with Vision because of the continuity. Whenever you do a conversion, you lose a little bit of data. It doesn't
Yeah,
carry
yeah.
through.
Yeah.
I'm going through that right now with, and I think it's gonna be worth it, but right now it's pretty painful with Proctor and Paulette to get rid of
So you found
ProVal.
Vision very easy to work with?
That ain't broke.
Cause I found it a miserable mess when they did it.
Yeah, it
Decipher.
was a tough startup.
Yeah.
It's a complex program, and they went from paper and pencil to state-of-the-art CAMA program, so that was a big leap. But a conversion is almost an equal leap. You gotta, rebuild all those tables and enter all of that data, and, so there might be an advantage to staying with Vision. You might get possibly 2 contractors to bid if you say you wanna stay with Vision. If you leave it open, you might get 3 bidders.
Yes.
I don't think you're gonna have, there just aren't that many players that,
No, we're not gonna
So
go.
I guess I'd like to make the motion that we, put out for an RFP.
Yep.
Yes.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so,
Excellent. I would
So-
further recommend you maybe try for 2028 with the possibility of 2029 to, again, to,
29 's
you'd
fine.
like to get more than 1 bidder.
okay.
Well, let's get something together and I'll bring it to them.
Exactly.
What, if we're at 60%, does the state assess us something if we're below 85?
Well, it's factored into your tax rate, which is
Tax rate
pretty
changes.
significant.
Yeah, it's a big number. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's formal right now.
Yeah,
Sheesh.
yeah.
But that said, most towns are that. West Rutland, we did a reappraisal in 2019. It was what the market did in the last 4 years.
Right.
We're in the 70s now, so.
Yep. All right, thank you. All
All right, thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Come again.
right, bids for body for new truck.
Okay, so I know you guys had the quote from Fairfield at the last meeting.
I won't.
Chad received the quote from Viking that's in front of you with the copy of the Fairfield one again. Dave apparently has some breaking
I've
news.
got, I've just got another guy, he's over in, Hartford, New York, forehand. I know he's done work for, I believe he said Bennington, Danby, town trucks for them, maybe a couple other towns. I just think at the numbers we're seeing, it's worth looking at something else.
So I certainly will reach out to him and I'll take
Aye.
the information, but do you know what they're using for bodies and stuff? They're not like Tenco and things, are they?
You'd have to ask him. I
Yeah,
don't,
okay.
the truck body I got was an EV, aluminum truck body.
Very well known.
But I'm looking, the prices I was looking at, and again, there's a couple different places I got them from. I won't mention them.
Did
but
you
anyway,
get like
he was
everything
about
on here?
20 He was about 20% lower.
So everything, the controls, everything?
No,
Plows?
this was just a flat deck on a truck. I'm just talking a flat deck on a truck comparison wise.
Right.
But from one or two of these other companies, not necessarily the ones here, but he was about 20% lower. So I think it's worth at least having a phone call and getting a bid before we commit to somewhere.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure they're comparing apples to
Or
apples.
have Chad go take a
Well,
look.
no, and
Or
that's.
you and Chad go look at it.
Obviously, you
Yeah.
gotta compare apples to apples. I didn't call him to find out what he has, cause I don't wanna get in the middle of this, but here is a number to call,
We'll give them a call.
you know?
Yeah.
He's a real nice guy. I mean, I like him. He's,
We got
he did a good
$10,000
job for
difference
me,
here.
So let's get one more before we make
More,
our decision then, or take a look at it and see if it's
That'll give us
worthy of
3.
getting.
Yeah.
That'll be
we'll-
3.
Yeah.
Tires,
I know, I mean,
bids.
yeah. We like 3 bids.
Well, hey, you know what? It's
I think it's great.
not a bad thing.
No, it's
Not a bad
not.
thing.
It's
It's
not.
not, you
The
know?
other
Well-
thing is when are these for production? When can they get this
So
out?
Vikings spring.
Talking almost a year.
They're a year out, but
They're a
they
year
said
out.
they could take our truck in the spring.
They could take it
We
in the
could take, we could
spring.
bring the truck up in the spring and they'd start working on it, so.
It'd be a year.
Well, we'd have it for next winter. We'd have it for next winter, so. I mean, that's
Same
ever, yeah, I don't know what,
Fairfield?
well, yeah,
They screwed.
Well, and
through
that
it.
was another thing. This guy was,
I mean, I
for
don't-
me, with the truck body, where it was gonna be 6 months at the other places, a month and it was
yeah,
done.
let's see, we'll
So,
compare apples to
I
apples
think
on
it's
that one.
worth-
I mean, I can tell you from past experience with Viking, it's a top-notch organization. And you get quality that does last. Your bodies aren't rusting out as quick.
No.
Your mechanicals are working, your bed chains are not binding up like some other companies do, and it's that, but we'll certainly give them a call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah.
and then find out what other towns he's done it for and see how they like their bodies.
Yeah.
Yep,
It's, you know,
that's what we do.
as you get less and less people to bid, you need to look, you know, farther out.
One of the big well, I guess Fort Ann's not that far away, so is, you know.
It's less than an hour.
His maintenance is the big thing, so.
Less than an hour.
Well,
Alright,
I think
so
we can
we'll-
take the other 2 weeks to take a look at one more number
Oh, yeah,
before we vote on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got time. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the,
Gun.
no one's
Get
going
a
Right.
vote for us.
Let's,
Oh, in that amount of time, shit, yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
If you can't, then.
He had
we
one
move
for
on.
me in like a day, so granted, it wasn't as intricate, but still.
Yep.
All
I'll
right,
get
so
Chad,
we'll
get
get
that
that
with
third
Chad, we'll
bid.
work on it.
all right, any questions on the orders?
Nope,
Pass that.
not for me.
I sure do.
Thank you. I'm just gonna pass it like that. That's the easiest way to do it, I think. Maybe.
Trying to figure out because payroll is different.
Oh, so because there's payroll for fire in there too. The annual fire one, so.
Oh.
You're signing a separate one too. I can tell you, Chad got retreads for the Chevy. That has to be the roughest drive I've ever been in my life. You can't even talk on the phone because it's
Really?
It's so friggin' bad. Those tires are terrible. I don't know if it rides smoother when it's loaded, but holy crap. I bet people were watching the truck hopping down the road. It was,
That doesn't sound too good.
they were
Where'd
not,
they- How long they been on the truck now?
couple weeks.
Where'd you get them?
I don't know. I'll ask them. They were terrible.
Send them back.
Not a
There's
fan
a
of
good retread and then there's,
Yeah.
Well, there was just one of them didn't get balanced right.
I don't know. It was hopping pretty good.
I mean, unfortunately.
It wasn't vibrating. It was,
Well, no,
It was skipping.
But if it's, you
Yeah.
know, out of balance, it'll hop, because those tires are heavy. So if they're out of balance, they will throw you.
and to top it off, we went down Town Hill Road and it too. It's like, holy crap. I think we both had to go to the dentist and get tooth work done after.
Oh,
You can't sign that one. You can't sign
thank good
that.
for the absent, the little absent line there.
You were there for
I don't
that.
know, knock on the door.
Yeah,
If
it
not,
took
I
my
have all
nose
his
so
numbers
bad.
and everything, and I can go through it.
It's pretty dark in there.
He might have
That's
given
not
up.
for me. You and I are off that one.
yeah.
I'm on this one.
Is this the night I called in really late?
Oh, when you were just there for executive?
Yeah.
No, he called in during the budget meeting.
It was at the end. It was at the budget meeting.
That was the budget
The
meeting.
executive
Oh.
session he called in for.
Oh,
All right, we don't have anything else now?
Executive.
Well, I was just gonna, yeah.
Start reading.
So, yes, I'll do my lengthy reading that I'm now required to do. Can I please have a motion to go in executive in accordance with 1 V.S.A. 313A, where premature general public knowledge would clearly place the municipality or person involved at a substantial disadvantage to discuss the appointment, employment, or evaluation of a public officer or employee, provided that a public body must make the final hiring or appointment decision and explain its reasons for the decision in open meeting. 1 V.S.A. 313A3 to include the town manager and members of the police department.
Need a motion?
Motion.
Make a motion, we do it.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.